Hey there, Mr. Sutton here, bringing you the Pre-Cal Honors 4-2 Extra Practice Number 2 solutions on compound interest. There's a worksheet puzzle that goes with this. Let's take a look at that. So the idea with this puzzle is we're looking for a savings plan for $10,000 that we just have burning a hole in our pocket, I guess. And we're offered the following savings plans with different compounding periods, different interest rates, different lengths of the investment, and we want to figure out which is going to give us the greatest return on our $10,000. So we basically have to go through each of these, calculate the new total after applying all this, and then just pick the highest one. So with that said, let's go ahead and see where we want to put our money. For our first plan, we are given a continuous compounding at 5.95% interest for 9 years, $10,000 for this. So because I've got continuous compounding, I'm going to be using my PERT formula, f of t equals p times e to the rt. And for the principal, I've got 10,000. I'm going to have that all the time. I've got e, that's its own thing. And the interest rate here we're going to have, well, it's 5.95%, so I'm going to turn that into a non-percentage number, a decimal. So I'll just move my decimal over 2 spots, basically dividing this by 100. So that's going to be 0.0595 times the t-value, that's the length of the investment, that's going to be the 9 years. And I just have to plug that into the calculator now. So I'll do this first one kind of in slow motion on the calculator because it's our first PERT problem here. So I've got 10,000, and to get e, you need to do second, and then at least on my calculator, you have to do second ln, and that gives you e to an exponent. And then up here, we've got 0.0595, and I'll multiply that by 9, and then just press enter. And that comes out to about $17,083.02. So one thing I'm going to be doing is keeping track of my highest total. This is Plan A, giving us $17,083.02 in return for our $10,000. So that's the current winner because it's the only one we've tried. If I find one that's higher, I will update the current winner column. Otherwise, I'll just leave this the same until I run out of plans. All right, on to the next. For my next plan, I'm compounding daily at 5.96% interest for 9 years. So I'm going to need a slightly different formula for this. Instead of going to the PERT formula for continuous compounding, I'm going to start with my PB to the T formula. But for my B value, I'm going to have to use my compounding formula. So in general, that's going to be 1 plus the interest rate divided by the number of times per year that we're compounding, all raised to the number of times per year that we're compounding. So in this case, I've got 1 plus my interest rate, so that's going to be 0.0596 because we're using a decimal, not a percentage for that. And then divided by the number of times per year. So if we're doing daily, that's going to be 365. We're assuming it's not a leap year or some other weird variation. And then I have to raise that to the 365 as well. So we have 1 plus r over k to the k power. And I'll plug all this in my calculator now. Because this is my first time doing one of these on this particular video, I'm going to show you an easy way to take this into your calculator. So we've got a parentheses, and then 1 plus, and then I'll do a fraction. If you want, you can do alpha y equals if you have one of these graphers, and then do n over d to get a fancy fraction mode. If not, you can just use a parentheses with division inside, and it will also do the job. So we've got 0.0596 divided by 365. Get out of there and close the parentheses, and then we'll do an exponent, raise that all to the 365, and that comes out to this crazy decimal, 1.0614 and some change. So I'll just write out the first 4 decimals there. So now plugging all this into PB to the T, I've got f of 9 equaling 10,000, so principal of 10,000, times this b value, 1.0614, raised to the t, which is 9 in this case. Now when I do this back on my calculator, I want to show you this as well. So I'm doing 10,000, I'm doing my parentheses, and instead of writing 1.0614 like I've written here, I'm actually going to use this value up here, this longer decimal value. Most of the time it won't make a difference, but every now and then it's going to change my answer by a cent or two, and I want to be really accurate on this because my winner could just be winning by 1 cent. So to grab this input from before, I'm just going to up arrow to that, press enter, and now if I close my parentheses, I've got all that craziness, at least enough of it in there to make a difference. And then I'll raise that to the 9th power, press enter, and I get $17,097.65 if I round that off. And comparing that to my last one, that's about $14 higher. So A is no longer the winner. It's now B with this total. So here's Plan C. Annual compounding, 7%, 8 years. So this is so far the highest interest rate we've seen. So for annual compounding, I'm going to start with PB to the T. This time around, though, I don't have to do anything special to my B value. So I've got the 10,000 for principal. For the B value, since it's annual, I just basically add 0.07 to 1 and call it a day. You could use that big souped up formula, but you'll just end up with 1.07 anyway. This time around, for my T value, I've got 8, not 9, so you have to pay attention to that. So we have a better interest rate, but a worse compounding period and a worse length of investment. So let me plug all this in my calculator. So there we go, ready to plug in. So I'm going to do most of my calculator entry off camera at this point and just show you kind of what I've got entered in here before I press enter. So we've got enter for that, 17,181 and 86 cents. And that is quite a bit higher by almost 100 higher than Plan B, which was the previous winner. So Plan B is no longer the winner. This plan, even though it was only 8 years, still gives us a better return. So that's the new winner, Plan C. Let's take a look at Plan D now. Every time we've looked at a new plan, it's been better than the one before it. Let's see if that trend continues. We again have annual compounding. So just PB to the T with no fancy modifications to my B value. I've got a P value still of 10. That's always going to be 10, at least in this problem set. B value now, divide this by 100 and add it to 1, so 1.062 for the B value. And then raise that to the 9 there and go to the calculator. So plugging that in, we end up with 17,183 and 86 cents. So there we go. And although that interest rate wasn't amazing, we still ended up with a higher overall return than our last plan. So C is gone, and this is the new winner, Plan D. Next up, Plan E, we have quarterly compounding at 6.05% interest for 9 years. So start with PB to the T and modify my B value. I'm going to have 1 plus 0.0605 over, now quarterly, that's 4 times a year, so over 4. All of that raised to the 4th power. And let's go to the calculator for that value. So plugging all that in, that comes out to approximately 1.0619 if we round it off. I'm going to use the real value anyway, but I like to write something down here just so people know where I'm coming from. So we have now 10,000 times this number to the, let's see, this was 9 years, so the 9th power. Let's plug that in now. So I've got all that plugged into the calculator. That's coming out to 17,167 and 33 cents. And is that higher than what I had before? It looks like it is not. So D is still the current winner. For Plan F, we have continuous compounding, 6.75% for 8 years. So that's going to be our PERT formula. We've got 1,000 times E to the, and now we're going to have 0.0675 for the R value. And that's going to be multiplied by 8 for the T value. And let's plug all of that in. So there we go, pressing enter on that computation. We got 17,160 and 6 cents, or 7 cents actually, if we round that off. Might make a difference. It's not going to make a difference for the winner, though. This is still lower than Plan D. So D continues on. That's 2 in a row that D is beaten back. For Plan G, we're doing every other week, 5.98%, and then 9 years. So we've got PB to the T. B value now we're going to have 1 plus 0.0598 over, well, every other week. That's going to be 26 times per year because there's 52 weeks in a year. So 52 divided by 2 is 26. Raise that to the 26. And let's see what this is on the calculator. So plugging all that in, we end up with something close to 1.0616 if I were to round that off. So I've got now 10,000 times this number. Again, I'll use the real value in the calculator. Raised to the 9th power, because 9 years of investment. And all of that comes out to $17,118.63. Still not good enough to beat D. Now we've got Plan H, weekly, 6.77%, 8 years. So PB to the T, B value now of 1 plus 0.0677 over weekly, that's going to be 52 weeks in a year, all raised to the 52. Plugging that in, we get a B value of roughly 1. Let's see here, rounding all this off, this is actually 1.0700 if I round it off. So that's 10,000 times this to the 8th power. Plug that in the calculator. And plugging that all in, I end up with about $17,181.49, which is pretty close to D, but still not close enough. Wouldn't have even beaten Plan C. So we're moving on to the next one. Here we go now with Plan I, monthly, 6% interest, 9 years. So PB to the T for the formula. B value is going to be 1 plus 0.06 divided by, let's see, monthly, that's going to be 12. Raise it to the 12th and plug it in the calculator. Plugging that in gives me a B value of 1.0617. So I have 10,000 times that B value that I just got, raised to the 9th power. Plugging all that in and pressing enter, I get 17,136.995. Well, actually, I have to round that up. So that's going to round up to $37 even, which is still not going to beat Plan D. D is still our reigning champion for several rounds now. Now along comes Plan J. We've got quarterly, 6.85% interest, 8 years. So PB to the T. This time we've got 1 plus 0.0685 over quarterly, so that's 4 and 4. So that comes out to about 1.071 or 0703. So that's 10,000 times 1.0703-ish, raised to the 8th power. Careful with the exponent there. So that's going to give me about $17,217.83. Comparing that to D, who's been the winner so far, that looks like it is higher than D. So we have a new champion. We've got Plan J, at least until somebody bigger comes along. Up next, we've got Plan K, weekly, 5.97% interest, 9 years. So using PB to the T on this, we have 1 plus 0.597 over weekly, that's going to be 52 and 52. So that gives us a B value of about 1.0615. So that's 10,000 times about that much, raised to the 9 this time. And all of that is going to give me about $17,108.53 on the calculator, which doesn't beat Plan J. So J at least gets to keep the crown a little bit longer. On Plan L, we've got monthly compounding, 6.8% interest, which is pretty good, 8 years. So PB to the T. B this time we've got 0.068 divided by monthly, so 12 and 12. So plugging that in, we got 1.0702 if I round that off. That's a big round off though, so I'm definitely using the true calculator value on this next step. 10,000 times, I'll write the rounded off version, but definitely using calculator version, raised to the 8th power. And plugging all that in gives me $17,202.41. So that's pretty close to J, uncomfortably close, but still not going to beat it. For Plan M, we're doing this biannually, which is to say the way they're using it twice a year. 6.1%, 9 years. So we're going to use our PB to the T. It's almost not worth it, but we'll do it. So we've got 1 plus 0.061 divided by 2 twice a year, raised to the 2. And it looks like that's giving me a B value of 1.0619 and some change. So I've got 10 times this new B value raised to the 9th power, which on the calculator is giving me $17,173.70, which doesn't come close to beating J, so on we go. Now we have yet another plan, N, daily compounding, 6.76% interest, 8 years. So using PB to the T, B value, now we've got 1 plus 0.0676 over daily, that's 365 on each of those spots. Plugging it all in, the B value for this one is 1.0699. So that's 10,000 times this stuff raised to the 8th power, all of which is giving me a final value of $17,172.94. Still doesn't beat J. All right, we've got 2 challengers left. Here's Plan O. Every other week, 6.78%, 8 years. So PB to the T, B equaling 1 plus 0.0678. Every other week is 26 times a year, 26. So that comes out to 1.0701 if I round that off for my B value. Plugging that in, we've got 10 times that to the 8th power. And that all evaluates to $17,189.16. Still well short of beating Plan J. So here it is, the final challenger, Plan P. Biannually, 6.9%, which is a pretty good interest rate, but only 8 years, so that might be a problem. So PB to the T, we've got 1 plus 0.069 over 2 for biannually, raised to the 2. So our B value for this one is going to be 1.0702. So 10,000 times that to the 8th power then, which, according to my calculator, is going to be $17,206.32. So it's getting close here. This is not that far away from Plan J, but still not better than Plan J. So J, which we encountered quite a ways back, actually ends up being the best plan for this, so we're going to go with that. The winner is J. Congratulations. Tell him what he's won.